My name is Emily. I'm 24, I'm platinum blonde, and people often tell me I look like I belong on a magazine cover. I never brag about it. I've gotten used to compliments that feel like small alarms. I live alone in a narrow apartment above a bakery in downtown Boston. I work nights doing layout design, which means I'm awake when most of the city sleeps, and I like it that way. Quiet keyboards, half-empty coffee cups, the hum of the fluorescent lights. Tonight is Halloween, which I usually treat like an excuse to eat bad candy and ignore my inbox. I tell myself I'm safe. I tell myself a lot of things. At 10:15 p.m., my phone buzzed. Unknown number. The voice message says, "Beautiful." Cute, I thought, an admirer with terrible timing. I typed a teasing reply, something flippant, and my thumb hovered over send. Before I could hit it, another message came. Blonde. So perfect. I see you. That knock of dread you get when you realize someone has noticed details you thought only you knew flashed through me. I checked the peephole. The street was thin with trick-or-treaters and a couple of couples in cheap costumes. Nothing that matched the tone of the message. I locked the chain anyway, even though I hadn't unlocked it in months. I told myself it was a creep, a stupid Halloween prank. Then the messages stopped pretending to be flirty and started telling stories. And this time it says,
"The last girl I caught. I left marks she'll never forget. You're next, and I'll make sure you remember every second."
My laugh died in my throat. That sentence didn't come from a bored kid. That was not the voice of someone who wanted to flirt. It read like a citation, like he was reciting the rules of whatever game he kept in his head. I stared at the words for a long time until the letters blurred and became static. I called the police. No signal. My Wi-Fi was glitching like someone had taken pleasure in jamming it. The radiator ticked. The bakery oven below sighed through the floor. And I felt small inside my own apartment. I told myself to be rational. I checked my locks again. I opened every light. I half joked to my reflection in the mirror, "So come on, Em, it's Halloween." It felt ridiculous to speak aloud to a room, but I did it because the silence was louder than anything. The knocking started at midnight. Soft, deliberate, on the balcony door that shouldn't have anyone on it. The balcony is a few feet above the narrow alley. Someone would have had to climb, or use the fire escape, or be impossible. The knocks were a metronome. Steady, patient. The voice that followed was close enough to rip the hair at the back of my neck.
"Emily, come out."
There was no scream in it, no hurry. It sounded like a man calling his dog by the name he'd given it years ago. It sounded affectionate. That made it worse. I backed away and texted the unknown number back with one word. "Who?" He sent me a single image. A wall of the butchered photographs of girls. Blurry, old Polaroids clipped along string, one missing space, and a label underneath, number 17. My hands went numb. I slammed the phone face down and shoved it under a pillow like hiding it would muff the horror. I'm not proud of what I did next. Fear strips you down to animal choices. I refused to be helpless. I stuffed knives in the coat closet and wrapped myself in extra sweaters like armor. I pulled the curtains tight and sat with my back against the door, listening for anything that would reveal his plan. I kept thinking of the sentence he'd sent, the way he said he'd made the last one remember every second. Remember what? The pressure, the pain, the smell, the way light can feel like an accusation at the end. Time crawled, or it sprinted. My sense of minutes dissolved. Once, in the hallway, a loud crash made me bolt to the bedroom door. Someone outside dropped a metal pipe. Sirens wailed in the distance. Footsteps refluxed and faded. I tried the police again and finally reached someone, but when I told them the messages, they asked for an address, then said they'd send a cruiser. I waited, an hour full of strained breathing. No cruiser came. Then there was a soft, almost casual text. "You're clever." It arrived with an attachment, a short video, just 20 seconds. The clip showed my living room from a corner I had never realized had a blind spot. My couch, my lamp, the orange string lights I'd wrapped around my bookshelf. I pressed my palm to my mouth until I tasted metal. The video ended with a close-up, the camera shifting, and for a heartbeat I saw my own face reflected in the dark glass of the TV, asleep, mouth slightly open. The camera zoomed one last time, and the final frame was a still of me, sleeping. The timestamp, 30 minutes ago. I sat paralyzed. He had been inside my building. He had been inside my apartment. Or he had surveillance so complete that he could manufacture presence like it was nothing. Either way, I had been violated. I didn't run downstairs. I didn't storm out. I moved like someone with a plan I could not fully trust. I called a friend, but there was nothing to say that could make any difference. I wanted to be angry. Instead, I walked the apartment with my shoulders held like a shield and checked every closet, every drawer, every crawl space under the sink. I found nothing except for one small thing that made bile rise, a hairband, looped with a blonde strand I didn't recognize, tucked inside a cookbook. He had been thorough, almost polite in his mess. At 3 a.m., a knock came again. Louder, not frantic, precise. This time, someone whispered my name right at the door frame, and then the whisper moved like it wanted to test my back, my resolve, and it says,
"You can hide, but I know your habits. I watched you read last week at 11:07. I've learned the sound you make when you bite your lip and try to sleep. You will be mine tonight."
I found myself walking to the balcony. Don't ask me why. Some part of me wanted to prove I was not shrinking from the world. My fingers trembled as I undid the chain and cracked the door. The alley smelled of fryer oil and rain. The building opposite was an inked silhouette. No shape, no figure, no ladder was leaning anywhere. A folded note fluttered in on the draft and landed on the mat by my feet. My name on the corner in handwriting that should have stayed anonymous. I unfolded it with shaking fingers.
You think you are the one who will survive. You think they all were mistakes. I am careful. I catalog. You will be perfect. Come to the roof when the moon is highest.
I laughed then, a cracked, small sound that surprised me. "No," I told the empty staircase. "Absolutely not." I called 911 again, and finally a cruiser came blaring within 20 minutes. 2 officers swept the floor, checked the balcony, ran their flashlights through the dark corners of the apartment. They found nothing. No one. They left their card with me and said words that are meant to comfort but don't. "We'll patrol the area, Ms. Wallace. Lock your doors. Don't go outside." I went to bed when the sun started to thin the night, but sleep didn't come. The last thing I remember before drifting into something like a dream was the phone vibrating with a single new image. I opened it, and the picture filled the screen. Me, in my bed, under my blanket, eyes closed, hair spread like a halo, and a small handprint left in dust on the nightstand beside me. The photo was taken from the closet door, slightly ajar. I sat up so fast my heart punched my throat. I jumped out of bed and checked the closet. The door had been closed. The locks were in place. There was no sign of forced entry. The handprint in the photo was not there now. Instead, on my nightstand where the print had been, a single loose strand of hair rested across my palm. Not mine. They arrested a man a week later. They sent pictures of a rundown room with thumbnails pinned to a board. They said his name on the news. The anchors used words like apprehended and catalog and motivation. They called him a loner. They said he had been careful and had a list. They paraded half of his trophies on camera: hair samples, Polaroids, belongings. They showed a closed, gray cell taken apart like a crime scene diorama. They said he'd confessed to several girls, blondes mostly, but he hadn't answered questions about others. But the last image the detective showed me made my mouth go cold. Among his things was a Polaroid not yet in the file, shot from a closet angle. Me. The same picture I'd received that morning, time-stamped before the police had arrived. He had taken it, he said, as a keepsake. He'd kept it because it was perfect. When they asked if I wanted to press charges, I felt absurd asking the question. He had been caught. He had been cataloging. He had been arrested. That should have been enough. But the way he had written his messages, the way he had spoken, the soft cruelty of those words, "You're next, and I'll make sure you remember every second." It didn't sound like the kind of thing a man stops saying because the handcuffs click. It sounded like something stored in a shrine, like a promise that had weight even if the body was taken away. The last thing he sent me before they cuffed him was a picture of a tiny scrap of paper folded and placed on his table. On it, in slow curling script, was one word: soon. I thought being alive meant the story ended. I thought being here, awake, meant he no longer had claim to me. But sometimes, in the quiet, I hear the soft slide of a camera, and I realize the difference between being seen and being owned. The case file closed with a barcode and a date. The news cycles moved on. My reflection moved through my apartment like a stranger, and every night, when the lights go down, I check the locks and the camera angles and the shadows, because the strangest thing is how intimate fear becomes. Not an intruder breaking through glass, but a voice that remembers the exact place your eyes land when you read a horrible text, and knows how to make you look again. He is behind bars. That should be the end. But the world is full of men who collect things. Some of them hide them in rooms the police never find. And some of them keep whispering in old messages, promising a perfection they believe only they can create. Tonight, on Halloween, the city will dress itself up to look harmless. I will walk down the street with the scarf pulled up, half laughing at myself, playing small talk with strangers. I will smile at reflections and try not to flinch when my phone hums. And if the vibration brings a message I don't recognize, I'll remember the Polaroid and fold the paper in half and set it beside the alarm. Because the worst thing is not knowing if the next photograph, the next sound, the next knock will be proof that he was here, or proof that he is still waiting to be let out again.
My name's Ethan Miles. I'm 28, and I live in a quiet little town called Ridgewood, Pennsylvania. The kind of place where neighbors still wave, and the loudest thing you'll hear at night is a barking dog or a passing train. It's small, safe, predictable, or at least, it used to be. I've always loved Halloween. Even as an adult, I still get that giddy, stupid excitement when the air smells like pumpkin spice and wood smoke. I'm that guy, the one who goes all out. Fake cobwebs, glowing skeletons, the whole front yard lit up orange. My friends make fun of me for it, but I don't care. Maybe I just like pretending the world still has magic in it. This year was my first Halloween in Ridgewood. I'd moved here a few months ago for work. Cheap rent, quiet streets, nice neighbors, a safe little restart. That night I got home late. The streets were already alive with kids. Tiny ghosts, witches, and superheroes sprinting across lawns, shouting through the mist. Porch lights glowed in rows like little campfires. The sound of laughter carried down the street. It felt perfect, familiar. I changed into my last-minute vampire costume, black cape, plastic fangs, grabbed a bowl of candy, and waited by the door like a big kid. The first few rounds were fun. Groups of laughing children yelling, "Trick or treat," and running off before I could even close the door. But after an hour, the knocks slowed. The fog rolled in heavier, and the voices outside faded one by one. That's when I heard a new knock. Not cheerful, not hurried. Just 3 slow, dull thuds. I opened the door, smiling automatically. "Trick or treat." The words froze. A single child stood there. No parents, no flashlight, just him. He wore a black hooded costume, plain, no mask, just fabric covering his entire face. In one hand, he held a little orange pumpkin bucket. "Trick or treat," he said softly. His voice didn't sound right. Too low, too steady, like he was reading the words, not saying them. "Hey, buddy," I said, half joking. "Cool costume? You out here alone?" He tilted his head slowly, to the side, almost curious. Then without answering, he reached into his bucket and handed me something, a small folded piece of paper. I laughed nervously. "You're supposed to take candy, not give me homework." No response. When I looked down to unfold it, he was gone. The sidewalk was empty. The fog was thick enough to hide the end of my porch. No footsteps, no giggle, nothing. Just quiet. I shrugged it off, shut the door, and looked at the paper. It was an old photograph, black and white, maybe from the 70s. A man stood on a porch, my porch, same door, same cracked tile. But the man wasn't smiling. His face was twisted in terror, eyes wide, as if someone was behind him. And in the corner of the photo, barely visible, was a small figure in a black hood holding a pumpkin bucket. My stomach dropped. I tried to laugh it off. Maybe a prank. Maybe one of those local haunted house gimmicks people run for attention. I tossed the photo on the counter, turned on the TV, and poured myself a drink. Then came another knock. I froze. My throat went dry. I walked to the door, slower this time, opened it. No one there, just the empty candy bowl on the porch, and inside it, another photograph. This one was newer, sharp, full color. It showed me, standing right there at the door, holding the first photograph. And in the background, through the window behind me, the hooded child was visible. Closer this time. My legs felt weak. I turned around slowly, scanning the room. Empty, silent. Then I heard it. A hollow clunk from the kitchen, like plastic hitting the floor. My body moved before my mind could think. I crept forward, heart pounding so hard I could taste blood in my mouth. There, on the floor, was the candy bowl, upside down. The photographs were gone, and on the counter was the pumpkin bucket, half full of candy. I swear I hadn't brought it in. The lights flickered, once, twice. In the reflection of the dark window above the sink, I saw him, the hooded child, standing just a few feet behind me, still, silent. I spun around. Nothing. The front door creaked open by itself, and the cold October air poured in. Through the fog, I could make out dozens of faint shapes. Children, standing perfectly still on the street, each holding a pumpkin bucket, every one of them facing my house. The tallest one, the one who'd come to my door first, stepped forward, raised his hand, and pointed directly at me. Then the porch light flickered out. When it came back on, they were gone, all of them. No footprints, no sound, not even candy wrappers left behind. Just silence. It's been 3 nights since then. I've barely slept. I've checked every camera, every light, every door lock. But every time I pass by a mirror, I see something faint. A small hooded shadow standing behind me, holding that same bucket. Last night, someone slid a note under my door, scrawled in jagged handwriting. It says, "You forgot to give one last treat." I haven't opened the door since, but tonight is Halloween again, and I can already hear it. That slow, steady rhythm against the wood. My name's Ryan Keller. I'm 31, and I grew up in Fairfield, Ohio. One of those Midwestern towns that goes absolutely feral over Halloween. Fake graveyards on lawns, skeletons in porch chairs. Even the church ran a hell house. When I was a kid, Halloween night meant freedom, an entire neighborhood of glowing pumpkins and sugar highs. Now as an adult, it means beer, bad costumes, and pretending I'm not tired. But this year was different. This year, I went home, back to Fairfield, back to my parents' old place. Empty now, waiting to be sold. I thought it'd be nostalgic. One last Halloween in a house where I grew up. It wasn't nostalgia, it was something else. I got there around 6, right as the sun dipped below the trees. The street looked almost the same as it did when I was 10. Plastic ghosts, paper bats, the smell of leaves burning somewhere nearby. Only one thing was different. The end of the block. The old Harper house. It used to be boarded up, condemned after some gas fire decades ago. Now it was cleaned up. Not restored, but cleared. Like someone had tried to make it livable again, then gave up halfway. The yard was too neat, the porch too clean. but the windows were still pitch black, and sitting in the middle of the front yard was a pumpkin, a huge one, carved crudely, no pattern, no art, just 2 slanted holes for eyes and a slit mouth like someone had torn it open with a knife. Its grin faced the street. I remember thinking, someone's trying too hard. Trick-or-treaters came and went. I handed out candy, smiled at costumes, took a few nostalgic photos for my sister. But by 9 o'clock, the street had gone quiet. The fog rolled in. Real, not theatrical. The kind that eats the light right out of the street lamps. That's when I noticed something. The pumpkin across the street. It had turned. It wasn't facing the road anymore. It was facing me. I told myself I was tired. Shadows and fog do strange things. I poured another drink, watched TV for a bit. Then the power went out. The whole block. Everything's silent except the faint wind and the occasional crack of a branch. I grabbed a flashlight, went to the window and froze. Across the street, that pumpkin glowed again. Orange, flickering from within. Except no one else had power. I stared for a full minute, watching that uneven light pulse through the fog. Then I realized it wasn't flickering. It was moving, like there was something alive inside it. And slowly, the shape beneath it shifted. Long arms, a bent silhouette. Something stood there, hunched over, wearing the pumpkin like a head. I backed away, convinced I was imagining it. The power flickered, came back on. I laughed to myself. Old house, old wiring, whiskey brain. Except when I turned from the window, there was a sound on the porch. 3 dull thuds. Not a knock, not footsteps. Something heavy. Set down. I opened the door cautiously. No one there. Just another pumpkin. Small, freshly carved. Its grin sharper. Its inside still wet with pulp. And something else. Tucked into its mouth. A Polaroid photo. It showed my house. The same angle. The same porch. The photo had been taken from across the street. And through the front window. Me, standing there, holding a flashlight. I looked up instinctively. The Harper house window flickered with orange light again, just faintly, like a breath moving behind the glass. I should have left right then, but I didn't. I told myself it was a prank. So I grabbed the pumpkin, marched across the street, and placed it back in their yard. I remember shouting something dumb like, "Nice try." The yard smelled wrong, like wet soil and iron. When I turned to head back, I tripped. Something caught my foot. I looked down. A long, dark thread stretched from the porch to the pumpkin stem. It looked like fishing line or hair. That's when I saw the ground around it. The grass was wet, not from rain. From something thicker. I ran, locked my door, turned off the lights, sat there, trying not to breathe too loud. Then at exactly midnight, my phone buzzed. Unknown number, 1 text, trick or treat. I didn't reply. Another message, you forgot to say thank you. Then a photo, blurry but clear enough. It showed my front door from outside. And at the edge of the frame, just barely visible in the fog, was that same tall figure wearing the pumpkin head. The eyes glowing faintly, the mouth split open wider now, like it was smiling just for me. It's been a year since that night. I moved away. I don't celebrate Halloween anymore, but last week, a package arrived at my new apartment. No return address. Inside was a pumpkin, fresh, heavy, and a Polaroid taken through my bedroom window. In it, I'm sleeping. But when I zoom in, my eyes are open, staring at the camera, and I swear, They're not my eyes.